Well, it's gray. You might be seeing some precipitation right now, particularly if you're north of the valley. Most of the valley not seeing rain now, or showers, or drizzle, or much of anything. But as you get to the Blue Mountain and north, um, it's going to be damp. We'll probably have some fog, particularly around the Blue and the Poconos right now. And then as we go through the day today, we might see some breaks of sunshine. Those breaks of sunshine are going to be the predecessors to some pretty interesting weather. We've been talking now, I think, for a few weeks about this weather pattern that we're in. Last week, we went into some pretty good depth, and the week before, some pretty good in depth talking about weather out on the West Coast and this whole La Nina thing and how that's going to affect our weather. Let's go look at a very wide image right now. We're going to see the East Coast, the United States, and the West Coast. If you look at California right now, you see the moisture that is over Northern California going into the Rockies. But off to the southwest of that, you see a very thin line of moisture, that long tail, if you will. If you watched YSL last week, we explained this. This is the energy that comes from La Nina down near the equator. Funnels its way to the west coast of the United States, goes up the west coast. That energy is then spun in the Gulf of Alaska, a little horseshoe off of British Columbia, Canada, and east of Alaska in that little gulf. That spins, it forms into storms, and it trains into the Pacific Northwest. That's happening right now. First system happened over the late weekend. Second one is happening now. And there is a third one coming. The first one that arrived ashore yesterday, causing horrible, horrible flooding into fire ravaged areas of the Northwest and the Western United States, is going to be moving east. That's going to get here Friday. We're not going to talk about that yet, but we're going to be setting things up. If you look at that map right now over the upper Mississippi Valley, even into the lower Mississippi Valley, up towards the Great Lakes, paying special attention to Indiana and Illinois. We see that moisture there. That main body of moisture will be moving our way through the day today into the afternoon, evening, and arriving in the overnight. See that little, again, not really a tail, but that line that goes south down into the deep south. That line is going to produce some dangerous, dangerous weathery spot conditions for the Mississippi Valley today. They're going to have a pretty good opportunity for a widespread and dangerous tornado outbreak today. That system, as it moves towards later today into the overnight, is going to bring us some weathery spot conditions as well. Keeping in mind that we have a lot of leaves still on the trees here. The system coming in overnight is going to have a lot of wind. It's going to take down a lot of those leaves, if not the trees holding those leaves. It's going to bring a lot of rain, a lot of wind. It's going to bring some opportunity for thunder and lightning. Those thunderstorms could be severe, will be severe in some spots. We could even see a tornado or so from this system moving in overnight tonight, or through overnight tonight. As that moves through our region and out to the coast, see that little blippy down south there in the mid-Atlantic? You can see it barely at the bottom middle of your screen there with the reds and yellows and greens. See how that's moving north? That, my friend, is going to become a nor'easter. That is a coast storm that is going to become a monster coastal storm. That system that's now over Indiana, Illinois, that will be moving through our region tonight is going to combine energy with that system that's off the Mid Atlantic coast. And that is going to create a monster nor'easter. I think it forms sufficiently late enough that it doesn't really affect our weather, this coastal system, that is. But if you're in New York, Long Island, or New England, especially the Boston area, east and north of Boston, you are in for one hell of a ride. We're talking hurricane strength winds, flooding rains, and all those things that are associated with it. It's going to be very, very interesting weather day from the West Coast to the Mid Atlantic to the Midwest as it moves through as we go into tomorrow. Tomorrow we can still have some lingering showers, but depending exactly where that coastal storm develops, where it forms, it's going to start training moisture into the mainland United States. Again, I think it happens in New England. But some of those showers on the southwest side of that could make it into our region tomorrow, so we can't rule out showers tomorrow. Today's temperatures will get up to maybe 70 today. I think a lot of us are going to get stuck in the 60s. After this system moves through tonight, tomorrow some of us may not see 60. A lot of us are going to be stuck in the 50s tomorrow. It's going to be windy. It'll be very breezy. That continues into Wednesday. So I think Sunday's mostly dry, if not completely dry, with sun and clouds, but that breeze will still be around on Wednesday. And with the saturated ground, again, with all the leaves on the trees, we can see a lot of tree damage, not just limbs, but entire trees coming down with a strong wind. If we look ahead to Halloween and the first week of November, my friends, I think we see an opportunity, not a guarantee necessarily, not yet, but I'm getting close. I'm getting close to making it a guarantee. I think we see our first opportunity for snow the first week of November. Again, we're in this pattern that we've talked about in depth the last couple of weeks with this moisture that will just continue training through our region regularly through our region from the west coast to east coast. And again, when you look back at that wide view of the east coast and west coast, and we see all that activity in the Pacific Ocean making landfall into the west coast and moving its way east. That's the system that I predicted 2 weeks ago. We talked about in depth last week that we now see developing. We now see forming. The Sierras, the Rockies, they're going to see feet of snow. Just the next, say, 48, 72 hours. They're going to see feet of snow. Driving will be impossible. The lower elevations are going to see flooding rains. Those are areas that were hit really hard by wildfire, where all the vegetation is burned away. So there's nothing to stop mudslides or landslides from happening. Excuse me. I think over the next 24, 48, 72 hours, we see some pretty catastrophic mudslides and landslides out in California, Oregon, even parts of Washington State, where the wildfires really hit hard this summer. They're in for a really, really, really dangerous week. Again, if you look at that wide image, you see all those systems out in the Pacific out in the Pacific Ocean, making the way to Pacific Northwest, and they will train east. I told you again the last couple of weeks that we're going to see this moisture pretty frequently. The question becomes temperatures. What do the temperatures do? And temperatures are going to dictate just what the precipitation type is, and we'll see. I think as we get into November, we're going to see a little dip in the jet stream. Not enough to keep the moisture away from us. It'll still train the moisture to us. But I think that lets some cold air sneak into our region the first week in November. We could see some snow the first week in November for our first snowfall, our first actual visible, measurable snowfall. I can't necessarily rule out that we may not see two opportunities for snow the first week going into the second week of November. Again, not a guarantee just yet, but bear in mind, write down in your notepad that today Peter said we could see some snow, at least one, maybe two systems the first week of November, with the second one coming towards the latter end of the first week into the second week of November. Heads up for snow. If you don't have your snow shovels out, yeah, you might want to get them ready. I don't think you're necessarily going to have a huge snowfall, but I would have snow salt ready, anti-skid materials ready, and I would certainly have my car window scraper in my vehicle before Halloween. Heads up for that. PennDOT, if you're watching, first week in November, okay? I know you're having a driver problem with plow drivers right now, but be ready. Be ready. Start adjusting your budget for some overtime. Again, I don't think necessarily a lot of us are going to see a huge snowfall. It's going to be enough to create some problems. And again, it's the first snowfall as well. And the ground, quite frankly, is not especially warm. I mean, it's certainly about freezing, but I don't think it will take a lot, particularly if the system trains properly. We can see a pretty heavy, rapid rate of snowfall, which could create accumulation just because of the intensity. But again, we're way out from that. Just giving you a heads up, first week of November, we could see our first snowfall. As of today, most of us will be in the 60s. We may hit 70 in the valley and south of the valley. Most, I think, we're going to be stuck in the 60s. We'll see some breaks of sunshine, I think, today. But as we go into the afternoon, particularly in the evening and overnight, we start seeing some rain, some thunderstorms, some wind gusts, and some weathery as fuck conditions with the opportunity for some pretty severe thunderstorms as that cold front comes through. Again, we're going to drop at least 10 degrees between our high temperature today and tomorrow. In fact, I think our low temperature tonight is going to be our high temperature tomorrow. How's that? So once the temperatures go down tonight as the system moves through behind it, temps aren't going to come up more than maybe 1 or 2 degrees if they do that. That's your weather. I think there will absolutely be a weather graphic today. So for those of you who like the weather graphics and the twat arrow and all those things, today will be your day. You will see a weather graphic. It's going to be a very active weather week. Very active weather week, particularly today and tomorrow. A little break on Wednesday. But we're going to see that new system forming for Thursday, Friday. I think it doesn't get here till Friday. They're going to be doozies, each of them. That is that. Did we just literally just talk about the weather for a solid 14 minutes? We never do. Just weather, no nonsense. What? It's going to become a very, very interesting week. And again, this is the pattern we've been talking about. This winter is going to be a very active precipitation winter. Temperatures will decide exactly what types of precipitation we see. But we're in that pattern that I predicted almost a month ago that would start to develop and happen is now. Shouldn't be surprised, really. I don't know if I have anything else for you. We will be making an announcement for a cornhole tournament in January. And we're getting very close to announcing our April fundraiser event. Charity. I ain't got nothing. Oh, I do have something else. If you ordered your pink Cancer Sucks t-shirts and hoodies and you're having them shipped, you will have them by the end of this week. Some of you got them already, some of you don't, and I'll take the blame for that. I've been very busy and I just I just forgot about a couple of details. But you will have those if you're having them shipped by the end of this week. If you missed Coxswag pickup, it's the onus is not on me to make the arrangements for pickup. The onus is on you. The obligation, Palmer, not anus, onus. The anus is on me and on you too. We all have anus. But the onus, if you ordered and didn't make pickup, is on you. Mr. Graham, have you anything that I am forgetting to say? Yeah, I don't think so either. I think that's it. That's it. Okay. You're gonna get wet. You're gonna get blown. You might get hit really hard, like pounded. Wet, blown, and pounded. Sounds like a wonderful time. That's it. I love you all. Ladies, I love you a little bit more. We Blue will see you tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. for Morning Wood, and I will see you tomorrow morning at 9:30 with What You Can Expect Live. We'll recap what happens between now and then, and we'll give you a little heads up about what's going to happen later in the week, too. See you.